Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. I hope that all of you are good and safe and sound at home. Students, today we are going to talk about the active and passive voice of present indefinite tense. We have already done with the whole present tense, right? Present indefinite, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous, right? So that was basically active voice in which subject was doer, right? Doer of an action. So here, let me tell you what is a voice, then we will move on towards the definitions of active and passive voice. A voice is a form of verb that indicates whether the subject is performing the action or is being acted upon or receiving an action. A voice is basically a form of verb which tells you, जो आपको बताती है कि subject आपका action perform कर रहा है या फिर receive कर रहा है. For example, here there are two types of voices I told you, active voice and passive voice. Now here what happens in this one active voice, the subject performs an action. जो पहले हमने किए थे tenses, those were actually active voices in which subject it's performing an action, was performing an action. Here you can see in the sentence the dog scares the cat. Now what is happening here, the dog is a subject here, this one is verb and the cat is object. Now it's performing an action. ये क्या कर रहा है, action perform कर रहा है. So this one is the simple active voice in which subject performs an action, right? If we talk about the passive voice, so this one is different from the active voice, but the meaning remain the same. Meaning आपका same रहता है, सिर्फ आपका voice आपकी change हो जाती है. In passive voice, subject is acted upon or receiving an action. For example, you can see here in this one, in the active voice, the dog was a subject. Here the cat is a subject now, right? The dog was actually in the previous one sentence, it was doing an action. Here the cat is receiving an action. अब यहाँ पे क्या है? The cat is scared by the dog. Now here the cat is a subject, but it is receiving an action. यहाँ पे cat क्या कर रही है? Receive कर रही है action किससे? Dog से, right? So the cat is a passive subject here because it is not doing an action. It is receiving an action. So this one is the difference between active voice and passive voice. Let me tell you in the next slides as well. All right. Active voice, if the subject is performing the action, it means it's active in doing that action. So it is active voice. For example, you can see here, the girl sings song. Now here you can see the girl is singing song or the girl sings song. The girl is a subject here and it is performing an action. It performs an action. It means that this one is the active voice. Why is it so? Because the subject is active here. Subject आपका active है, right? It's performing an action. So it means that this one is the active voice. If we talk about the passive voice, so if the subject is having the action done to it, then the verb is said to be in the passive voice. For example, piano is played by the boy. Now what is happening here? If we say the active voice, अब अगर हम इसका active में इसको convert करें तो हम simply ये कह सकते हैं कि the boy plays piano, right? So if we want to change it into passive, जब हम इसको convert करेंगे passive में तो हमने subject को receiver बनाना है, right? So here you can see piano is a subject here. अब piano क्या है? यहाँ पे subject है and is receiving an action. अब यहाँ पे piano जो है वो act नहीं कर रहा, that is actually receiving an action. So piano is played by the boy. किससे receive कर रहा है action? By the boy. Piano is a passive subject in it. Subject is having the action done to it or is receiving an action. अब यहाँ पे क्या है? Previous one वाले में क्या था कि the girl was actually a subject and performs an action or performing an action, right? So here in passive voice, the subject is receiving an action. So this was the difference between active voice and passive voice. Now there are certain rules you need to learn while or to change active voice into passive voice, right? So for present indefinite tense, there are rules to follow. The first one rule is object becomes subject. Sorry. इफ़ यू वांट टू चेंज द एक्टिव इनटू पैसिव वॉइस, तो एक्टिव में आपके पास क्या है कि सब्जेक्ट आपका फर्स्ट पे होता है, राइट? सो यू आर टू राइट ऑब्जेक्ट फर्स्ट, आप सब्जेक्ट को हटा के ऑब्जेक्ट लगा देते हैं उसकी जगह। उसके अलावा सेकेंड रूल है आपके पास थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ वर्ब, यू नीड टू यूज थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ वर्ब व्हेन वी चेंज एक्टिव वॉइस इनटू पैसिव वॉइस। पैसिव में जब आप कन्वर्ट करते हैं तो आप थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ वर्ब यूज करते हैं। नेक्स्ट वन थिंग इज हेल्पिंग वर्ब। इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द प्रेजेंट इंडेफिनिट टेंस, तो उसके सेंटेंसेस को आप कन्वर्ट करने के लिए इज, एम, आर एज अ हेल्पिंग वर्ब यूज करते हैं इन पैसिव वॉइस, right? I told you in present indefinite tense we use does or do in negative or interrogative sentences, right? But here you are to use these one helping verbs in passive voice of present indefinite tense, in a positive one, affirmative, negative or interrogative, right? So आपने उन तीनों में यही helping verb use करने हैं, right? Use of by, now you are to use by as well while changing the active voice into passive voice. And the last one rule is subject becomes object. आपका जो subject होगा वो आपका object बन जाएगा, right? Let me tell you the examples here. For affirmative sentences, he writes a letter. Now this one is the active voice. He is a subject here, right? It performs an action. Here comes first subject, then comes verb, then comes object here. But if we want to change it into passive one, we will write a letter first, object को आप पहले लिखेंगे, then you will write helping verb according to this one. आपने देखना है object को आप जब subject बनाएंगे तो उसके according आपने helping verb use करना है. Is it a plural or singular? So helping verb comes, then comes third form of verb, then by, and after that you will write here subject. जो आप सब्जेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट की प्लेस पे लेके आएंगे उसको आपने एंड पे लिखना है, राइट? सो अ लेटर इज रिटन बाय हिम, दिस वन इज द पैसिव वॉइस ऑफ दिस एक्टिव वन, राइट? अफर्मेटिव सेंटेंस. इफ वी टॉक अबाउट द नेगेटिव वन, so he does not write a letter, this one is the active voice where the subject performs an action, right? This one he is a subject here, subject, then comes helping verb, राइट? अब यहाँ पे हेल्पिंग वर्ब आपके पास क्या है? डज है, राइट? बिकॉज वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द नेगेटिव सेंटेंस ऑफ प्रेजेंट इंडेफिनिट टेंस. देन कम्स फर्स्ट फॉर्म right here, and our letter is an object here. Now you are to change this one active voice into passive voice. First rule was you are to write first object. आपने object को पहले लिखना है. The object was a letter here, तो आपने a letter को फर्स्ट पे लिखना है. देन यू आर टू राइट द यूज द हेल्पिंग वर्ब. आपने फिर हेल्पिंग वर्ब इज एम आर में से यूज करना है अकॉर्डिंग टू दिस वन, राइट? ऑब्जेक्ट को आप जब सब्जेक्ट की प्लेस पे लेके आएंगे तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग आपने हेल्पिंग वर्ब यूज करना है. देन यू विल राइट नॉट, बिकॉज इट्स अ नेगेटिव सेंटेंस, तो नेगेटिव को नेगेटिव में ही कन्वर्ट करेंगे. देन यू विल यूज द थर्ड फॉर्म ऑफ वर्ब, देन बाय, एंड आफ्टर दैट यू विल यूज हेयर सब्जेक्ट. आपने जो सब्जेक्ट यहाँ से रिप्लेस किया है आपने उसको यहाँ पे लेके आना है, right? So a letter is not written by him. This was the passive of this one active, right, of negative sentences. If we talk about the interrogative sentences, students, तो simple one active की बात करें present indefinite में, तो this one is the structure where you use first helping verb do or does. So here, does he write a letter? Does is helping verb, then comes subject. Then we use first form of verb, that is right here, then object, and after that you put here a question mark because it's interrogative sentence, right? This one is the active voice. Does he write a letter? But if you want to change this one into passive, अब आपने passive करना है subject को, right? So आप क्या करेंगे? सबसे पहले हेल्पिंग वर्ब यूज करेंगे बिकॉज वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंटरोगेटिव सेंटेंस, राइट? आपने इंटरोगेटिव को इंटरोगेटिव में ही कन्वर्ट करना है. सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू आर टू यूज द हेल्पिंग वर्ब, बट देयर इज अ चेंज इन द हेल्पिंग वर्ब. अब जो एक्टिव था उस पर आप डू और डज यूज करते हैं, बट इफ यू टॉक अबाउट द पैसिव वॉइस, सो यू आर टू यूज हियर इज एम आर अकॉर्डिंग टू द सब्जेक्ट, राइट? आप जो ऑब्जेक्ट को सब्जेक्ट की प्लेस पे लेके आएंगे उसके अकॉर्डिंग आप helping verb use करेंगे. First you are to use the helping verb, then object, right? And you will make here this one as a subject, right here as a subject. Then comes third form of verb, then by, and after that comes subject. You know, आपने जो subject यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ था उसको replace करके आप end पे लेके आएंगे. And after that you are to put here a question mark because we are talking about the interrogative sentence. So, does he write a letter? Is a letter written by him? This one is the passive of this active one, right? So this was all about the active and passive of present indefinite tense, students. These are the, you know, this one is the exercise for you. You can practice this one exercise. The active one, first one sentence is he reads a novel. Passive is a novel is read by him. Active is they grow plants. Passive is plants are grown by them. Active is she teaches me. Passive is I am taught by her. Active is again he does not cook food. Passive is food is not cooked by him. Active is does he purchase books? Question mark. This one is the interrogative sentence. Passive is are books purchased by him? Question mark. So these are the, you know, sentences or exercise you need to practice, right? And there is a test for you, right? You are to solve this one test. All right, question is rewrite the sentences in passive voice. You need to change the voice. आपने voice change करनी है. These are the active voice. आपने इनको passive में convert करना है. The first one sentence is I wear blue shoes. Number 2 is Zara cleans the tables. Number 3 is they start a fight. Number 4 is he does not close the window. You are to change negative into negative. आपने negative को negative में ही convert करना है और interrogative को interrogative में ही convert करना है. The last one is do farmers harvest the crops? Question mark, right? You are to change the voice. आपने voice change करनी है. Active को passive में convert करना है. And after that, you know, completing this one, you can send it to me so that I can mark it, right? So this was all about today's lecture, students. I hope that all of the points are clear. If there is still ambiguity, you may ask me, right? Thank you very much.